Today's episode is brought to you by Belvedere. Produced in one of the world's longest-running distilleries, Belvedere Vodka is the world's finest all-natural vodka. Crafted by a collective of master distillers, Belvedere is made with non-GMO Polish rye, pure water, and no additives. Recognized for quality and their Polish rye, Belvedere was named the ISC World Vodka Producer of the Year in 2015, 2016, and 2017 World Champs. Enjoy a delicious cocktail with Belvedere vodka today, and remember to always drink responsibly. We're also brought to you by Mattress Firm. Connecting sleep to sports isn't easy, but here goes. Mattress Firm is America's neighborhood mattress store, and it should be your goal to check out the deals they have going on every day. Their mattresses are softer than your rival team's defense. They get a 10 out of tennis. You'll love your new bed. Okay, all terrible dad jokes aside, head to mattressfirm.com/podcast and stretch your budget further than a gymnast before a floor routine. Welcome to the JJ Redick podcast, where I interview some of the biggest names in sports and culture, as well as give you an inside look at life in the NBA. Today we have Olympic gold medalist, 10-time NBA All-Star, three-point legend, two-time NBA champion, and most importantly, co-star alongside Denzel Washington of the 1998 Spike Lee film, He Got Game, Ray Allen.
If I stay on the three-point line, Manu stays right there with me. But the fact that I go in, he goes in. So it's a scramble then because you're like, just get the ball. So for us, the constant movement gets us to where we need to be and what allows us to do our job. It's like anything else. Movement is life. So that's been my philosophy around playing the game of basketball is continue to move.
We talked about routines, the mentality of a shooter, and He Got Game. That's up after a few words. Hope you enjoy. Welcome back to this week's episode of the JJ Redick podcast. A few things I want to talk about before we get to Ray. Number one, on a recent episode with Jason Sudeikis, we talked about getting gift, and I had my gift moment. Jamal Murray on a breakaway dunked on me chest to chest. It was very embarrassing, and like I told Jason on the podcast, my very first thought was, that's going to be on House of Highlights. And sure enough, after the game on my Instagram account, it was on House of Highlights. So thank you for that. More importantly, Markelle Fultz was back. What an amazing infusion of energy that he gave our team and the city of Philadelphia. It was just an incredible atmosphere last night in our game against Denver. And what an awesome moment for him. The kid has worked unbelievably hard to get back on the court. I definitely feel like he deserved to have a special night like last night and believe that he's going to help us a ton down the stretch. We are playing some great basketball. You know, when the season first started, we were talking about trying to squeeze out maybe 40 wins, maybe 41 wins, maybe 42 wins and try to lock up an 8th seed. And then, you know, we hit a little winning streak. We went from 25-25 to 32-25. Now we've hit another winning streak, and now we're talking about home court advantage. Joel Embiid is telling the media we're going after 50 wins. So this has all sort of happened really quick, even internally with our front office and coaching staff. I don't think anybody sort of expected us to be in a position with 9 games to go and a favorable schedule that we kind of control our own destiny to lock up home court in the Eastern Conference playoffs. It's crazy to say that, but we're all sort of well aware of that and the significance of that, not only for the organization, but for the city of Philadelphia. And, you know, hopefully we can finish this stretch of 9 games strong and lock up home court. Because I know that having home court advantage in the playoffs, especially, you know, obviously in the first round, would be a huge for us. Given our home crowd in Philadelphia. It's been just an amazing place to play. I think we're 18-1 over our last 19 games at the Wells Fargo Center. So just really excited about that. All right, and I'm joined by one of my favorite players of all time, Ray Allen. Ray, along with Reggie Miller, and of course, everybody in my generation's favorite player, Michael Jordan, were my three favorite players growing up. And I got the chance to play against one of my heroes early in my career, and actually guarded Ray for an entire playoff series in both 2009 and 2010, which was very, very challenging. Ray was in the middle of doing a bunch of promos for his new book, and that comes out on March 27th. And Ray was kind enough to give us a few of his minutes. And we're going to get to my conversation with Ray Allen. I should also mention that I'm not a big memorabilia fan. I remember my junior year of college, I went out for the Wooden Award, and all the nominees during the dinner the night before the award was announced, got to meet Coach Wooden, and I was absolutely thrilled to meet him. Everybody was getting this like gold basketball signed, and I just had no desire to get it signed because I was like, it's just going to end up in a garage somewhere. Like things, memorabilia, it's just not that important to me. So I didn't get it signed, but was obviously thrilled to meet John Wooden. So I'm not a memorabilia guy. I own one piece of memorabilia, and it was my rookie year, very first time that my team played against Ray Allen. He was on the Supersonics at the time, and I went up to him at halftime. I was like, "Hey man, can I get your shoes, and can you sign them after the game?" And he said yes, and I still have those shoes today. It's literally the only piece of memorabilia that I own. So this was just a special moment for me to have Ray on the show. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Let's get to Ray. Ray, thank you so much for joining me on my podcast. I know I tried to get you a couple years ago, but we couldn't coordinate. And I know you're in New York hustling between promo interviews for your new book. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, certainly a pleasure to talk to you. Hustling is what I did today and yesterday is I need to find a better word because today the city was crunk like I've never seen it, and trying to get from one place to another was hell on wheels.
It's New York. How many promo interviews have you done now in the last 2 days?
I can't even
a dozen,
count. Yeah.
5, 20?
I would say right now we're probably at about 15 or 16, and tomorrow is going to be a lot more. But it's actually to talk about. I haven't done a lot of media in the last couple of years, but to be able to come in and talk about basketball, talk about life. Talk about so many things. I had a pretty interesting interview earlier today about Boston, so it was pretty funny. It's amazing, and this firsthand how serious people take. They take it real personal, and I have to always I say, listen, I love everything about everything I've done and people I've been connected to. Like, I don't have any ill will towards anybody because, we're fortunate to be able to play a game for a living. You can't take it so personal.
When you were an active player, did you know that you were going to end up writing a book, or is this something that came about in the last couple of years? I have this ongoing joke, by the way. Anytime any crazy thing happens in the NBA, I'll be like, yeah, that's going in the book. That's going in the book. Like I play with Glenn Davis. Mm-hmm. I play with Dwight Howard.
Yeah,
it's going in the book. And I'm keeping, I guess, a mental log of all the things that happened. When you set out to write this book, though, what were some of the maybe unforeseen challenges that you had?
Well, for you, what you definitely should do is start writing the stuff down. That's the one thing I would have done. This whole process, like I never thought I would write a book as a kid, but as you get older, you start realizing all the things that you do in your life, like the places you get to go, the people you get to be around. A lot of times I feel bad because I can't take these people with me. All the people in my life that I love and I cherish, and my friends, people, everybody. And somebody told me a long time ago, when you do something, take people with you. So now a book is an opportunity to take people on your journey and show them, like, you just don't start as an NBA player. People think that you've been in the NBA your whole life. You're 12 years old as an NBA player. So to show them, the genesis of, your character, of your career, your family, what made you who you are to get to where you ultimately have gone. It's important that kids know that we all have come from somewhere that wasn't making a lot of money or being around famous people. You work towards that.
So last week, in the New York Times, Scott Cacciola did a little profile of me about his words, not mine, my meticulous routine, and it's something that I've developed over the course of my career. And this is going to sound weird, but I have to give you credit. I know we never were teammates, but I have to give you credit for sort of helping me develop that routine. I think it was probably sometime during my third year, which was my worst shooting year. And, you have a slump, you go in and get more shots. You have a good shooting game, you maybe skip a day of extra shots. And then I heard something that you said about, your routine should never change, whether you're shooting the ball great or you're in a slump. You can never blame or give credit to anything because the routine is the same. And then as I'm doing some research on this, before I got you on my pod, I came across a Jackie McCullum piece that she wrote back in 2008 when you were with the Celtics. And you mentioned sort of this OCD. I told Scott in the article for the Times, I said, I feel like I have OCD tendencies. And as much as sort of the preparation has like a positive effect on your shooting ability, I think mentally there's more to it for me in terms of why I have this routine that I have. For you, was it because you wanted to work hard, or is it more that mental sort of OCD side, like if I don't complete this or if I don't do this, it's going to eat away at me?
There were so many different things.
Yeah.
For one, just for what you feel, and you pay homage to me and what you learned from me, even not having played together. I did the same thing. I would go on the floor early and I'd see Reggie out there on the floor, and he'd always had a Superman shirt on the court. I played with Dale Curry. I played with Dale Ellis. Those guys I watched and I paid attention. They're like, wow, they do the same thing every single time. I played with Ricky Pierce, some of the league's greatest shooters. So it really is, it's a itch. You at nighttime, you sit here and you obsess over. I'll watch a college game or another NBA game. I'm like, wow, how did he make that shot? Man, he stepped up and made big free throws. And I was like, what if I missed the free throws? And all of a sudden now I'm over here in my head like, yo, what if I miss the free throws tomorrow? I get put on the line. Let alone forget about if you're playing in the playoffs. Yeah. You don't want to be the reason that your team loses the game because you miss free throws down the stretch, because we're the guys that shoot the techs. And they count on us to step up and shoot the techs. So I was like, I'm going to the court immediately. 10 o'clock at night, I'm going to the gym. First thing in the morning, I'm like, my wife, you got to drop the kids off. I need to go there, get there early. So it never seemed like work to me. It just always seemed like perfection, trying to figure out how to perfect my craft and to just be prepared. There's a book I read called The Art of Racing in the Rain. And what I learned about this particular race car driver, he was the best because when it rained outside, he didn't wait to see what his car would do in case he skid. He would push the skid. So he knew he could always already correct. So what I started learning is you prepare for every single thing that can happen. So when it happens, you don't have to say, oh shit. Yeah. It just happened. You just kind of are ready for it. So you see, here it comes. Now I could be, as a second develops, you're on top of that second with a correction. And so that's why we prepare and obsess over the way we do.
I think there's an underlying level of anxiety, though,
yeah,
that I have to, and look, a lot of people have anxiety. I'm not saying that, but specifically with shooting, there's an underlying level of anxiety that I have to live with on a daily basis. During the season, for example, we played Denver, and I shot the ball well, but I missed a free throw.
Yeah,
and I ended up with 19 points. Had I made that free throw, I would have had 20.
Right. Yeah.
Which, there's a difference.
20, yeah, there is a difference.
And I spent about 3.5 hours last night obsessing over it. But that's just sort of the daily struggle where you're obsessing. Or you mentioned watching a game. I even go back to my childhood. You'd watch a game and you're like, oh, I got to go out and work on that. So at night now, I'm watching an NBA game and I'm planning my workout for the next day. It's a constant 24-hour thing.
Yeah, and when you retire or when the summer comes, you definitely can let go of it. It certainly is. And I would say, as shooters, as you and I, we have probably the most difficult job because we're not given any liberties when it comes to when you get in a game. You might be standing at the 3-point line and they're like, shoot.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to get an opportunity to get to the free throw line, or you haven't been dribbling the ball the last 2 or 3 possessions. You just moving off screens or in transition, and the game happens fast. And if you miss that one shot early, oh, he's off today. And it's like, I'm like, damn, I didn't even get an opportunity to get a layup or to feel the ball before all of a sudden you've determined how I'm feeling for this particular game. And I know the difference because when I played in Seattle, I had the ball in my hand early.
Yeah.
So I took an early shot, to a barometer. I had the ball so much. So free throws were so much easier when you feel that leather in your hand and you go to the free throw line. You're like, this is money. In the fourth quarter especially. Imagine not touching the ball for 2 or 3 minutes at the end of the game, and all of a sudden, foul, give the ball to Allen. He's going to make our free throws. I'm like, here I go again.
In the NBA, you kind of get put in these boxes, and so there's like the ball dominant players and then the guys that play off the ball. I'm going to ask you about that transition that you had to make when you went to Boston, but you mentioned retirement, and I'm curious if that routine, that maniacal approach to your daily life, because I know when you were a player, it was like, I wake up and I eat this, and then I go to take my nap at this time, and I eat this when I wake up. Is there anything that has sort of filled that void, or have you been able to sort of let go of that OCD?
Well, the let go is interesting because when you say let go,
Yeah.
You start to mirror this let go idea. People look at you and say, retirement's been good to you because you start gaining weight because you don't have somebody holding that hammer over you. There's a time, schedule, bus, plane. There's always something. So what I've tried to do is to try to keep that same, regiment, when it comes to working out. I keep my runs regular. Travel, always carry workout gear with me. And I most certainly pay attention when I eat on a regular basis. It's one thing for us to do it for our job and for the organizations, but, now we owe it to ourselves because our bodies are our commodities. And what ultimately happens when you retire, you got to keep yourself healthy. We have strong hearts, but your heart could let you down if you don't, continue to take care of it. So it is, you just can't let go. You have to find ways to restructure your challenge, whatever that may be, if it's business, but there's some way you have to compete. Like I golf. I play with a lot of retired players down in Florida, and football, basketball, baseball. Like, obviously people go down there and retire. A lot of places down there for you when you're ready to come on down. But, you live in a gym now.
Yeah.
But when you're done, you want to be somewhere where you can be outside and just enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Hold that thought. We'll have more with Ray after this quick break. We have exciting news for all you ringer heads out there. I didn't know that ringer heads was a thing. Is that like ringer groupies? Apparently the ringer has groupies. Apparently Bill Simmons has, I knew that Bill Simmons had groupies. The ringer has new merchandise with a shiny new storefront that you can check out right now. We have hats, hoodies, and even an exclusive Shea Serrano Disrespectful Dunk t-shirt. Your friends will be low-key jealous when they see you strutting down the street with an official Ringer zip-up hoodie. Previously available only to Ringer staffers, we are letting you, our loyal listeners, get first dibs on the goods. Go to theringer.com/shop to pre-order your merch now. These are limited run items and will not last long. Once they are gone, they are gone. Again, check out theringer.com/shop to pre-order your official Ringer merchandise today. You can also find a link to the Ringer web store in the podcast description. I call dibs on a hoodie. Is there anything, either when you were a player or now, where This spills over into your daily life. I'm going to share a little brief story with you. My weirdest tendency that I have is when we're on the road. I'm a neat freak, and so my house, my closets, everything is always just pristine. I go on the road. I just whether I'm there a night or 2 nights, I trash my hotel room. I towels everywhere, and then right after I eat my pregame meal, right before I go to check out, I clean the entire hotel room. I don't make the bed, but I put the towels in the tub. I put all the trash away. I make sure everything's lined back up, and then I leave a $5 tip. I think that's pretty odd, though. I don't know why I do that. But is there anything else that you do in your life where, like, if you don't do it, it will just eat away at you?
I can't step on lines. I don't let my kids split poles. Like, we're walking through the city yesterday. I was like, guys, back around. Don't split the pole. Like, we do obsess over small little things because in our mind, what happens is when we win a championship at any level, when we're successful, when we get drafted, you're thinking, I just need everything to go the way I need it to go and in the direction I need to go in. So we try to figure out how we can have every break go in our favor, even when we're not paying attention to it. Because one thing for us to hit a shot, but sometimes you need the luck to kind of flow in your direction. I learned this from my coach, Coach Calhoun in college. He said, our goal is to win a championship, but it requires that ball sometimes to bounce in our favor. It's going to require some luck, and that's what happens. And that was evident for me in 2013 when the ball bounced off the rim. Chris Bosh gets it, and he kicks it out to me. Like, imagine football, how the football bounces. Like, we can't control that.
Yeah.
But what we can do is be prepared when that luck does happen for us. So everything that you're talking about, you're preparing yourself so when the opportunity comes, you're ready. And that ultimately is what luck is.
That's a great point. And so the preparation for you to get behind the three-point line on that shot, to catch the ball in rhythm, to raise up and shoot over Tony, those are the things you can control. I always tell people on that play, like, if Manu doesn't go for the defensive rebound on Bosh, he wouldn't have fallen. If he just fans out and locates you and lets Bosh, you know what I'm saying? I think about that all the time. Like, what if Manu did not go for the defensive rebound?
It's hard to say that because, I was talking to somebody about this like a couple weeks ago. If I stay on the three-point line, then at the time, Manu stays right there with me.
Yeah.
But the fact that I go in, he goes in.
Okay.
So it's a scramble then because you're like, just get the ball.
Yeah.
Now, just like I know, the minute that ball goes up and we get the rebound, get back out to the three-point line because you got to.
It's the best time to shoot a three is after an offensive rebound.
Yeah, that's the offensive rebound. So it's for us, the constant movement, is what gets us to where we need to be and what allows us to do our job. And if you stand in one place, it's like anything else. Movement is life. If you ride a bicycle and then you stop moving, you're going to fall. So that's been my philosophy around playing the game of basketball is continue to move. You wear your opponent down, transition, you'll score. If you're in better shape than the guy that you're guarding, that's 4 to 6 points a game without a play being called for you. So imagine how you have an effect on the game when you're standing there and people are always worried about what you may do and you haven't even moved. So think about what it does for your teammates, how you create space. And in the minute the guy turns his head split second, now you've moved and you're gone.
Yeah.
We call that the oh shit moment.
Yeah.
because now that the coach...
Ray, I had to guard you 2 straight playoff series in 2009 and 2010. I had a lot of oh shit moments.
Yeah. And when you say it, think about the coach has already said it. Yeah. Because we felt the same way with you when you were coming off because we're paying attention.
Right.
But the game is devised to follow a certain rhythm from the beginning to the end, a cadence. So at the end, you ask yourself, how did the guy get open? Well, let me break it down to you how this point guard has been breaking us down in the paint the whole time. So now we're trying to help. And, you can't move 2 places at one time. So when you lean to go in...
The two-way stunt's impossible.
Oh, and coaches always... It's interesting what coaches tell you to do. They tell you they want you to bump, be in position to bump. So now if I'm bumping, the roller.
But you got to get into bump. So it's always inevitably going to be a two-way stunt.
I got to get into bump. Yeah. Meanwhile, I got top 2 or 3 shooters in the league that I'm guarding. There's no way I can recover.
Right. It's like being in help if a guy's isoing at the top of the key. Like, yeah, it's great to be on the elbows, but if you're guarding a high-level shooter, to get from his body to the elbow, you have to go in. So at any point, it's almost like you're creeping. It's a game you have to play.
Yeah, but the one thing that the coaches always wanted us to do was start in. So imagine, philosophically, if you tell your player to start in, I'm on the opposing end, and you're telling him to bump.
Yeah.
I'm telling my point guard he's going to bump. Just throw it. He can't get back out.
Right.
And that's where you're at the mercy. Like in San Antonio, Danny Green had hit a record threes in that finals because we were doing that. We were bumping, and I was trying to get back out to him. And really, you know that fake run out and try to act like you're going to block the shot because you can't jump up and contest. He's already in the air. If you try to jump up, you're going to foul him.
You're going to foul him.
Yeah,
you're going to foul him. Hold that thought. We'll have more with Ray after this quick break. Audiobooks are great for helping you be a better you, whether you want to feel healthier, get motivated, or learn something new. And with an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more, Audible has all the audio content you need to start your year on the right foot. Try books like Fiscal You, You Are a Badass at Making Money. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, one of my favorites. Crypto Assets, The Innovative Investor's Guide to Bitcoin and Beyond. Healthy You, The Sleep Revolution, The Power of Habit, very important for me. Successful You, The 4-Hour Work Week, and Daily Self-Discipline. Whether it's on your phone, through your car, from a tablet, or at home on an Amazon Echo, you can get through tons of books while doing almost anything. And Audible even lets you switch seamlessly between devices, picking up exactly where you left off. Start a 30-day trial and your first audiobook is free. Go to audible.com/JJ or text JJ to 500-500. That's audible.com/JJ or text JJ to 500-500 for a 30-day trial and free first audiobook. You can do it with audiobooks. Everyone knows how important stretching is before an event, so does Mattress Firm. Except it's your dollar. Your budget stretches further when you're shopping at America's neighborhood mattress store. It's a true home run, and you'll have a ball. They're the head coaches when it comes to mattress expertise, but know this, they are more than mattress experts. They have a game plan that helps you transform your mattress into a bed, from adjustable bases and sheets to headboards and bedroom decor. They have you literally and figuratively covered up like your favorite cornerback. Go to mattressfirm.com/podcast to see what deals are happening as I read this sentence to you. They even offer you a 120-night sleep trial to ensure perfection and a 120-night low price guarantee so you know you paid the perfect price. Talk about a 1-2 punch, a knockout, if you will. Score big with a perfect bed. Head to mattressfirm.com/podcast to get the play-by-play on how you can monumentally improve your sleep today, tonight, and tomorrow. And now back to Ray Allen. You're arguably the greatest shooter of all time, one of the greatest shooters of all time, all-time leader in three-pointers made. We've discussed this sort of diligence and this obsessiveness about routine and preparation and all that. The other aspect of shooting, of course, is the mental toughness side. And I've never asked you this question before, and I couldn't really find any good stuff on the internet. But what was your mindset going through a shooting slump?
You know,
because it happens to everybody.
Yeah, it happens to everybody. And you know, the position that you're in is different based on the team you play on. If you're going to get more touches, because I look at statistics more than I look at guys shooting the ball. Like if you scored 30, how many shots did you get? I had a situation in Seattle where the reporter said, "Wow, you couldn't hit it in the ocean today." I said, "No, I actually shot the ball well. It just didn't go in." You know, so you have to. As a shooter, you have to reframe the narrative because you start to obsess over it that the ball's not going through the hoop. But you have to know that you pay attention to your misses. One thing they always say is the ball bounces on the rim. When you see your misses and it's hitting around, you know, the paint, that you're close. You know, you might need to shoot a couple free throws and work on your release. If the ball's hitting off the rim and it's going wild, then your lift isn't good enough. So you look at that, you study it, understand it, and then when you go forward, like You sometimes, what I would do is I would just get in the gym and play one on none. Dribble, make every move, post up, and go to the basket and shoot my left, shoot my right, just see the ball go in. You know, what you would do if you were a kid. Because that love for the game is still inside you, but sometimes you forget it because you're layered and layered with game after game of video and, you know, this guy gave me 30 and you know, we're trying to make the playoffs, and you just got all these crazy thoughts in your head, but sometimes you lose sight of yourself and how you love this game, and you got to watch a highlight of yourself.
Getting dunked on. Last night I got dunked on. No, you're right, though. You're constantly, it's not just the game anymore. It's you're constantly navigating locker room relations, expectations from fans, from coaches, from yourself. It's always a point I have to make at some point, sometimes multiple times throughout a season, where I have to say, okay, what I need to get back to the essence of why I'm doing this.
You got to check in with yourself.
Why am I doing this?
Right.
And it always comes back, of course, to something that we all fell in love with as a kid, and that's just seeing the ball go through the hoop.
You know, the easiest thing that I could think of with you that I would suggest is you go back to the Cameron Crazies. Like, just think about where you were.
Yeah.
That mindset, the youthfulness, just the atmosphere that you played in front of every single home game. If you can take yourself back to that, because when you go out into the arena on a daily basis, you just kind of almost go through the motions. You go right to your spot where you get ready to warm up, and you know, you look at the clock and you start to count down, and you just kind of lose a little bit of that luster for the game. But you have to remember, Cameron Crazy, you know, my energy, like, you know, somebody's out here, I'm ready to just destroy everybody. And the thing is, it doesn't mean you're about to score 30. It's just your energy and the way you approach the game. Because what I see now, and I was at the NBA store yesterday, and I had people come in there to buy a book and get a signature. I had people come in from New Zealand, and obviously they were in New York doing, you know, whatever, but they just came in, and these people knew NBA basketball, were fans, and, you know, people were like talking about my career that were from other countries. You don't realize, like, the impact that you're having on the generation now of people that are watching you, especially playing in Philadelphia. You're grown-up kids. And so when we lose it sometimes, we just have to always be reminded, just by simply just popping in that highlight tape and just seeing, you know, who I was to start off, because this is still who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I've told you this before, but I wanted to be Ray Allen. Like, that was my goal in my career, was to be a poor man's Ray Allen. You know, Reggie Miller was another guy. In an indirect way, even though, again, we didn't play together, you know, Rashard Lewis became a pros pro because of you, and I became a pros pro because of Rashard. I remember right after he signed his, you know, $120 million deal or whatever, you know, that whole preseason, he was like the first guy in the gym, the last guy to leave. I'm thinking, like, my experience and my idea about a guy who signs a deal like that is he's going to mail it in. He's
going to come in late.
And he's going to big time it. And he was just, for the 4 years I played with Rashard, he was just such a pro and had such an impact on me and my approach to the game.
And he's a good man,
it was because of you. And he's a great man. So I mentioned you and Reggie, but for you, who were the guys, the shooters, the scorers, the players that you saw growing up that you either tried to emulate or you just loved watching play? Obviously, I'm sure MJ is on that list.
Yeah, MJ is certainly ground zero for me. I had all his posters on my wall from the Wheaties box. Really, you know, my parents played, you know, and I grew up in a military base, so I was around these grown men that I played against every single day. So that was really all I see. That's why I try to, like, be in front of kids as much as I can so they can understand that there's nothing complicated to me. We're very simple individuals that you can grow up and be like. You know, sometimes it just requires a touch. You know, you just need to be connected. That's why the charitable endeavors of the NBA and us getting out in the community are so important. Milwaukee was such a, you know, impactful place on me because my first year, I had real vets on my team like Elliot Perry, Michael Curry, and Johnny Newman. They were journeysmen, but we started shooting every single day. Me, Mike, and Elliot, we would shoot as a threesome every single day, and we had a routine. And these guys were, they would take the extra fruit from the locker rooms. They're like, man, we don't mess with the mini bar. We don't need that mini bar. Mini bar is too expensive. So I was like, all right, cool, bet. Just get some fruit because I'm not going to spend money on a mini bar. Yeah. Johnny Newman, every day, suit and tie or nice overcoat. No matter where we played, he was always like top to bottom. And I picked up on that, and I was like, you know what? I respect that. This man, some games he didn't play, but he came in and he played the part every single day. So I was watching how people looked at him, how they talked about how he dressed. So I was like, man, I'm trying to, move through the world like he is. And so that was my jump off from the beginning. People who were frugal, they didn't use the NBA lifestyle as a means to just sign contracts and just kind of screw it off and do whatever. Now, I give them so much credit, because we pay attention to the stuff and to the people who have done it and who've lasted. And they're the names that people a lot of times don't know.
Do you think that the NBA, specifically like in the last 8 years, since the lockout really, since the tax implications, going from a dollar for dollar to a more punitive luxury tax, there's a lot more veterans that are getting squeezed out. Teams would rather take a flyer on younger players. Do you think that the NBA is devoid of a lot of sort of professionals? Do you think? Because for me, one of the reasons I got the salary I got is because not just for being a player, but being a professional. And there's still value in that. It just seems like maybe there's not as much of it.
We knew what was going to happen, when the deal was struck, because it gave owners, more value in signing younger players. Obviously, you don't want to be, in a tax situation, against your salary cap. That's the thing. Like when you look down, and
I just feel like they're just getting so young. They're just so young.
Well, you my last couple of years, the conversation that you have in locker rooms is like, it's crazy. You want to get people to talk about things that are going to grow them and mature them and get them to think about the game from a greater perspective, because it makes us a better team. Yeah, they certainly are getting so young. Everybody's one and done, typically for the most part. And the teams take the bait because they feel like they don't want to miss out on anybody. So there's always a self-correction. Every time bargaining comes back up, it's always like, well, then the owners are gonna be complaining about, we can't keep any veteran presences on our bench because of this happening. So it's gonna come back up again, and it's gonna go back another direction where you're gonna keep more players around and pay them, nice salaries. Because remember, when I first came in, we used to always say these guys they haven't earned it, or they haven't done anything in their careers. Because before I came in, there was before the cap where it was a fixed salaries in the first round. These guys were getting $60 and $70 million contracts early as rookies. Yeah. So then it switched, to a scale, and so they correct themselves. It's almost like they negotiate against themselves and make it seem like it's our fault every single time. But these are issues that you now being an elder statesman in the league, you certainly have to bring up with the players union to make sure that they understand that we got to keep our older players around, because that is what teaches the new generation kind of the rhythm of how this league should go. How to be a professional, because when you lose that professionalism, what do you have?
There's real value, I think, in wisdom, and there's value in having elders around. And as you and I both know, a lot of coaches do have wisdom, but to hear that voice over and over again can sometimes feel redundant. And so to have a player say something in a locker room, on a bus, at halftime of a game, it carries sometimes more weight or as much weight as any coach. Before you go, I have to ask you about He Got Game because I've never talked to you about this before. But another reason I wanted to be Ray Allen was because of Jesus Shuttlesworth.
Which college looked great. Yeah.
But so how did this all come about? So I saw something Spike Lee said. He talked to a couple other guys in the NBA. He really wanted to get a player, someone who knew how to play, to make the basketball action as realistic as possible. You were willing to like come in for an audition, but had you ever acted before?
Never. We did make the playoffs that year. That was my rookie year. And it was April. We played here in the Garden. And Spike was like, I got this role. I'd like you to audition for a part. And, I can give you a role in the movie even if you don't get the main part. And he auditioned everybody. Iverson. He asked so many guys, and so many guys said, well, give me the part, and I'll come in. He goes, no, I want to see if you can do this part. I want to see you read lines with other people because I'm just, this is a serious movie. So I went in. I was staying in Connecticut. I live, literally 2 hours from the city. And I would drive up and I would, recite these lines, and all these actresses that I knew from TV, I was having love scenes with them, and I was like nervous, and it was crazy. I was like, I know I'm just over here just killing time. Like, I don't know what this is all about. No way I'm doing a movie. And then he kept asking me back. And, the third time I came back, the fourth time I came back, I interviewed with Denzel. He was in the room. I walked in. He was sitting there, and we went over some lines, and I was like, I said, I could really do this, because it seemed easy with him. He's like a great point guard. Like,
sure.
They put the ball right where you need it, and all you had to do is shoot, and they're like, wow, this is great. So
it wasn't intimidating to read with Denzel that first few times?
At first it was. Yeah. Because I knew I was outside of the realm of what I was capable of doing or what I've known to do. But the one thing that I knew is that I'm coachable. I can step in any situation and you tell me exactly what it is that you want from me, and I can do that. Making at this level, it proves to all of us that we can do anything that we set our minds on. We just have to keep an empty cup and let somebody pour into it what they need to pour into it. And then, like Bruce Lee said, we shape whatever you pour into that glass. I'm sure I screwed his Bruce Lee quote up, but
when you like finish the movie up, the movie's fantastic. I love the movie.
And thank you.
Somebody said to me the other day that you can make an argument if that movie came out now, it would probably be nominated for Best Picture Oscar. It is a phenomenal movie. But when the movie came out, or as it's getting ready to come out, how nervous or sensitive were you to sort of the reaction to your acting skills? Like, it's not what you did, so I would assume you had that in the back of your mind. But
the movie certainly today, would resonate so much more now because especially with the investigation going on in the NCAA like they are. But as a kid, 22 years old, I actually didn't think nobody watched. It was like there was this movie I'm doing, and I was doing like a couple appearances here and there, like doing interviews, and I was out in LA doing some interviews, and then for the most part, I was in Connecticut over the summertime just chilling. Like, I wasn't doing anything. It was no hype around it. Like, one time I went to a movie theater and sat in the back and just watched it. I didn't actually like watching it because I hated seeing myself on screen. But it didn't seem, there was nothing around. And then the season started that year. And then it was like, I went back in and everybody was talking about it. We had a premiere in Milwaukee. And that was it. Like, I would go in a couple arenas, they'd play He Got Game, and we'd run out on the floor. And it just seemed like it was, at the time, it was so under, the radar. And then it just caught cult hero status.
Yes, it's a cult classic. Yeah. I guess part of it, too, if an NBA player had a role like that alongside a star like Denzel, with a director like Spike Lee in 2018, with social media, it would be a little bit different. So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense.
Certainly would be.
You did one more movie, Harvard Man. Why did you stop acting after that?
Because after that, I was playing playoff basketball.
Yeah.
We were going to June full tilt. So, Hollywood is funny because you they want you to, and I've got offered to do a lot of things, but they're like, it's the middle of January, like, hey, we need you for 2 months to shoot. We'd love to have you in this role. And I was like, and you understand that I have a contract to play in the NBA? Because some of these people who were asking for me didn't realize that I really played in the NBA. Nobody on the set of He Got Game knew I was an NBA player. They
That's
walk.
not true.
Yeah.
That's not true. That's not
you know
true.
how many times, people, because, these people are working on movie sets all day long. They would walk up to me. I had people walk up to me and go, man, that's cool that you can do that. Where'd you learn that? That's awesome. Like, did you go to college and play ball? I was like, yeah, I actually did. And I didn't ever tell them any different. I just wanted to, it was a compliment because they really thought I was an actor.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Ray, I got to wrap up. Thank you so much for the time.
My pleasure, JJ.
Pleasure talking with you, man.
Always.
All right. That's it for today's show. Before we go, make sure to subscribe to One Shining Podcast with Titus and Tate. They've been the Ringer source for in-depth March Madness coverage, and we'll be breaking down everything you need to know about the Final Four and the championship game. Look for that on theringer.com/podcast, and no one hold it against Tate that he's a North Carolina fan. As always, if you have suggestions about this show, you can reach out to me on Twitter @JJ Redick. Make sure to check out The Ringer's official merch store, which is now open. You can find a link in the description of this podcast. We'll be back next week with another great NBA guest. Until then, if you enjoyed the show, make sure to give us a rating and review over at Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next week.